G'day everybody. I bet you're thinking, dehydration and cancer, come on, what's the link? Well, there is a link, and there's a potential link, I should say, and hopefully in this video I'm going to be able to convince you, especially those of you watching this video right now, that know you're not drinking enough water, that know you're living a dehydrated life, why it is so important to drink sufficient water every day, okay? Most of us know that it's very important to drink water, but we're not doing it. And I really truly think that we totally underestimate the importance of hydrating properly. Is it any wonder we're under so much stress at the moment and there's so many health problems? And one of the reasons I can guarantee you is because we're not hydrating properly. So in this video I'm going to explain the potential link between dehydration and cancer. And I'm going to explain the structure behind this. Okay? It's something I see very commonly with all of my clients, is we're not drinking enough water. And when I get to that part of my protocol, I always get the response, yes, Mark, I know I do, I know, I don't drink enough, I should drink more. Yes, well, I want to convince you to drink more now. Okay? Now I want you to think about dehydration and the gallbladder. The gallbladder is one of the first organs to start to get under stress when we're not hydrating enough. Why? Because our bile starts to get sticky. Our bile flow starts to be restricted, starts to be compromised. So why is it important that we maintain good hydration for our gallbladder? Well, because of bile flow. Why is bile flow so important? Well, we all know bile is very important for the chemistry of digestion. It's important for that, of course, but it's also very important for the emulsification and the assimilation of fats, lipids. Why is that so important? Well, of course, we need fats, we need lipids, we need energy, we need the building blocks to our life and our energy in the day. But most importantly, with lipids, I want you to think about cell membranes. Now we have about 50 to 70 trillion cells in our body that have a bilipid layer, which means two different types of lipids that our cell membranes need. So with our cell membranes, we need two types of lipids. Okay, the unsaturated fatty acids to be able to push membranes more open, make them more permeable, allow more flow, receive more oxygen, and we have the saturated fats, the hard fats, that push membranes less permeable into a more anaerobic state. So we have the catabolic or the dysaerobic, open, that's the daytime mode, and we have the anabolic or the anaerobic. Anaerobic means low oxygen. Or without oxygen, I should say, that's more closed. Okay. Now you can imagine 50 to 70 trillion cells struggling for lipids. What impact that can have on the whole body, let alone the impact it can have in regards to the structure to cancer development. It's a big deal. Even a tiny deficiency in fats can have a massive impact. Even if it just has a tiny impact, you can imagine a minute, micro effect on a cell membrane. You times that by 50 to 70 trillion. That's a big deal, okay? All right. So now I want you to think about a cancer tumor. A cancer tumor, all cancer tumors are anaerobic or anabolic in nature, which means they're closed off. They're closed off to the outside world. Many of you probably already know cancer tumors will have their own environment within. They don't want to be open to the outside world. And one of the big reasons for that is because oxygen is the enemy of cancer. Okay, now I want you to think about this. Okay, dysaerobic with oxygen, anaerobic without oxygen. Okay, saturated fats pushes us more anaerobic, unsaturated fats, the running oils, makes us more dysaerobic. Okay, so just think about this just for a minute. If we have a gallbladder that's struggling because we're not hydrating properly, sufficiently, so we're not emulsifying our fats enough. What are we doing? Well, we can either push our cell membranes more dysaerobic, so more open, and that's one problem, but we can also push our cell membranes more anaerobic, which is more closed, and that becomes more of a problem when it comes to cancer. Okay, because this is the environment that cancer needs to be able to thrive. Okay, so not only is it obviously important to make sure that we consume plenty of good fats, both unsaturated, the runny, and also the saturated, the hard fats. It's not only important to do that, of course it is, because if we're not bringing the fats into the body, well, we're going to run into problems straight away. So this is the reason why we don't have the bile flowing really well, because our gallbladder is dehydrated, because our bile is getting all sludgy and getting coagulated and sticking together and not flowing. How that impact can have a big impact on our cell membranes. Now, just because we have anaerobic cell membranes mean the cell membrane stuck a little bit too closed. Now this is very common. I see this a lot. It's one of the key imbalances I see with the clients that I work with. What we're doing is we're lifting the risk rate, if you like, or we're starting to put our cell membranes into an environment that's conducive to cancer. It doesn't mean we're going to get cancer because we have membranes that are stuck a little bit too closed. I mean, that has so much impact on so many other areas of our health and our well-being and our energy levels and whatnot, detoxification and whatnot. So if we have a cancer tumor that is anaerobic in nature, like all tumors are, one of the most important things we can do is whatever we can do to try and force cell membranes more permeable, because we want to open up those cell membranes. Okay, we want to get more oxygen into the cells, because oxygen is the enemy of cancer. So I want you to think about a cell membrane that's stuck a little bit more anaerobic. Doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean you're going to get cancer just because you've got anaerobic cell membranes. But what it does mean is that we're manifesting an environment that, if a number of other factors come into line, we're going through stress, we're not eating properly, the environment's really stressed, we've got a lot of toxins in our body, a lot of other things going on. We have chronic fatigue, we've got candida, we've got parasites. All these things have a big impact, of course, on building manifesting a body that's under a lot of stress and becoming more vulnerable to degenerative disease, just like cancer. Okay. But one of the big factors with an anaerobic cell membrane is that because it's not permeable enough, and we can't get enough oxygen into the cell membranes, our cells start to switch to anaerobic fermentation. That's a fermenting of sugars to be able to produce energy. Can't get enough oxygen. We need oxygen to produce energy most efficiently. But when we can't get enough oxygen into the cells, our cells start to ferment sugars and start anaerobic fermentation. And I want you to think, what's a byproduct of anaerobic fermentation? Lactic acid. Okay, the metabolism of sugars produces lactic acid. So we've not only got cell membranes that are not permeable enough. We're not only not getting enough oxygen into the cells. We're not only not producing enough energy, but now, because we're fermenting sugars, we're producing a lot of lactic acid. And what happens to that lactic acid? It actually ends up in the outer edge of the cell and it ends up into the tissues. Now we have a tissue environment that's very acidic. Okay, so each step of the way we're pushing ourselves more and more vulnerable to tumor development. Okay, all because we didn't drink enough water. I want you to think about this.